Good evening, beautiful people, and welcome back to Playful Soul Mates, the limited series where I am speaking to people who were instrumental in bringing my debut album, Playful Soul, to life 20 years ago. And today's episode is a little bit different because today's guest wasn't directly on the album, but he was certainly in the mix. This man has been behind the scenes of some of the dopest stuff you have seen on screen, from editing, directing, storytelling for days. He's worked for all the big broadcasters, your ETVs, your SABCs, your Multichoices, and he has done commercials. He has basically done it all. If you're talking about film and storytelling, this is the guy with his finger on the pulse of what is happening creatively and in the culture of South Africa. So help me give a warm welcome to Diliza Moabi.
That's so warm. Can I copyright the intro and I use it for myself?
Absolutely. You can copyright it, you can share it with everybody and all of that.
I'm good, man. I don't think I've had anybody introduce me as such.
What do you mean? I mean, you seriously have done it.
I stand to be corrected, but that was a warm welcome. Thank you.
Well, I'm really, really happy that you're here with us. If people are watching, or when you are watching this, please do subscribe, rewatch, share it with your friends, like it, go check out some of the other content, because that's just going to help us make these kind of things even better over time. So yeah, that's enough of the sales pitch. Getting back to the reason why we're here today, because I am chatting to Diliza Moabi. So yeah, Diliza, I'm really excited. And let's take it back to when you and I first met, because it's possible that I am getting it wrong. In my mind, we met when I was in the band Newtown, and we were doing Battle of the Bands, and you and your very lean crew were filming us and documenting what we were doing. Is that how you remember it?
I guess it's a vivid memory, but I think in hindsight, I might have met you way earlier, because if I met Dumi from the Volumes, Doccie, way before that, our path would have crossed at some point, one way or the other.
I'm sure.
Maybe we were not officially introduced, but we might have met. And I'd like to look at it that way, because I don't think when I saw you during that period when we officially met, that was the first time when I met you. You know, and I can say that because when you were in there, I forgot the name of the band.
Newtown.
Newtown. I knew that you've been somewhere around way before that as a solo artist. And as part
all right, yeah, because I mean, it would make
so,
sense.
So I knew, so I knew about you, and we might have, our path might have crossed, but that was certainly not the first time I met you.
Oh, okay. I have Dory brain, but as you say, I'm sure our paths had crossed prior to that, and that would make sense because Dumi and the Volumes manager at the time was the person who introduced me to the Newtown guys when they were still Rise, and Tebogo Moloto was the lead person of that band. So, like
who was the manager? Who was the manager?
Say again. Oh no, Eric. I can't remember his surname, but Eric, the guy who's got the record bar in Linden.
Oh yeah, I see.
You know him, eh? Motlawong, I think it might be. I'm really bad with names. But yeah, so he's the one that introduced me to the Newtown cats. And like, it was possibly Tebogo Moloto going into the Project Fame House was the best thing that could have happened for me, because we had such a blast in that band. Whoa, I've got stories for days, but those are maybe stories for another day.
Yeah.
Because today I do want to just touch on, okay, we met back in that era, and then our paths crossed again when you were directing, is it Sisters with Soul for SABC?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
So, Sisters with Soul. So tell me a bit more about that project. I mean, the title is self-explanatory, but tell me more about that project.
I think for me, I'm gonna call it the fondest of memory. I'm gonna say fond. Use the term fond because one thing that I remember, the first season, I don't know what year it was, probably around about 2009, some of that. When I pitched it, I remember like the panel of SABC commission editors and channel executives. I remember one thing that never left my mind after that very initial pitch, after being shortlisted. Somebody, one of the panel members asked me like, because it was a height of house music that I remember very well. And somebody asked me like, why do you wanna do we are SABC one, like a pass of the youth, mainstream, all of that. Like, why can't you just pick something around house music, which is popular, people wanna follow that. I remember the question very well, and for me, yeah, and sometimes it excites me that I took the decision. Sometimes it haunts me. Yeah,
I'm sure you were
because
constantly having to motivate for why you were doing it, and
yeah,
there must be a
yeah,
lot of
exactly.
at every
So
stage.
because it was nicely about like why you want to do something about soul music when the most popular genre right now is house music. Why can't you just go? It'd be easy for you. And for me, it also sent me into a little bit of introspect, like why? Yeah, exactly. Why do I want to do this? But I realized that it was something at that point. It was something that I never thought about. For me, just like running around the camera and shooting people like you or T4 Timil or any of artists who were considered part of soul, and I really don't like. We can get to that later. I really don't like the idea of Afro soul because for me, soul is soul. You know, um, it was like that's really what I want to do, and I think being a filmmaker, maybe that's why I'm here. It was like I felt like I was part of that movement. I might not know how to sing or play an instrument, but
And tell us,
from a
oh,
yeah,
sorry,
but
sorry.
from a lens point of view, that's what I wanted to do, and it's the same reason. You have a voice, you can sing, but you chose. I don't know if you chose. Maybe what you singing chose you, and you could have gone and sang house music and be popular. You could have gone and do vocals in some Kaito song and be popular and all of that, but you didn't. You stuck to what you the reason why we're sitting here
What
doing
felt
this.
authentic. And it's not like I didn't do the odd verse on the house songs. It's not like I didn't do
Yeah,
a
but
dabble, do you know what I mean? But ultimately, it always comes back to the soul. And there's nothing wrong with those other genres. They've got their place.
no, no,
It's
no,
never been
definitely.
my thing. And sorry, just before you continue,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned the pushback that you got from SABC and the people that you were following at the time. What did that era feel like? What did the music scene that you were obviously very caught up in, but what did it feel like in the early 2000s?
Look, I don't know. I think maybe in hindsight I was naive, in a sense that, like I say, like for me, people like you, people like 340 me, people like Timmy and the Volume, people like Funny Experience, that's who that's who I was drawn to. But of
Yeah,
course, if you want to talk about popular culture, youth culture at the time, you'd have to go back to like your kwaito, your house music, right?
yep,
That's what I was, and in many ways, like I found you said yourself, you just said it now, like you did felt in some of those house songs or whatnot. So all of us, one way or the other, we found ourselves within that, especially being in Joburg, right? But
yeah,
it was almost it was not by design. It was just like it was there. So you just happened to be around the sea. But if
yeah.
you had to define yourself, it would be out of the context of kwaito or house music. Like I shot a whole lot of house artists, kwaito artists. But for me, if I had to place myself, like I felt more at home within the whole idea of soul, whether it was MXO, Roost 2000, um, was it Fela Sisters? Is it Fela Sisters? Lebo Mashile and
Oh, I can't remember what the collective was called, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
it was Lebo
Double
Mashile. It
Mashiane.
was yeah, exactly Nabo Mashiane. Like, so
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
felt more time, not even Tiny because I met Tiny way later. Um,
But you were
Simpiwe,
drawn to that.
Simpiwe. That's where I felt at home, right?
Yeah. And it was a
But in
very underground, it was very underground movement, but there was something about that whole scene that was really, really exciting. So I think for you to have been caught up in that says something for what was happening. But just to get a bit of background, you're not from Joburg originally. You're like most of us who, come there and, try to find the gold. Where are you
okay,
from
me
originally?
that one I need to write a whole book about it. I'm originally from Northwest in private, so I got to Joburg when I was I think 16, turning 17. But for me, most people will see this as trivial like information because there's a whole lot of people coming from outside Joburg, right? Moving to Joburg. But I feel
Yeah.
like what hasn't been expressed, myself included, but I still intend to do that, is like the idea of being I guess the famous title is Jim Comes, what is it? Jim Comes to
Jim,
Joburg.
Jim comes to Joburg.
Yeah. I've never seen the movie. I've seen clips of the movie. I'd love to see the whole movie to
Neither
see.
have I, but you know immediately when you hear what it means.
Yeah, I know what it means, but I'd like to see the full clip because the truth is what I realized years later, because I think I got in and I was fascinated by what's going on. I make the like fascinated what's going on, and I immediately jump into the whole scene. And years later, 5, 6, 8, 10 years later, most of people that we talking about and that we talk about, even you, when I told you, you were a little bit surprised. Like people just thought like I'm from Joe. Like, and for me, it's like Joburg just became like that unique place. Like when I see these urbanites, these young kids who grew up in the city, in urban area, it's just you guys might not see it if you grew up in the city, and that's my realization. Like you not even
Okay.
like fully comprehend how unique and I'm gonna say like how important you are to.
But remember, I'm not from Joburg. I was
No,
never.
no, yeah, but you're from a big city, so forget Joburg. Let's talk about
Okay.
a big
Okay.
city, urban space.
All
So
right. All
forget
right.
forget the name, right? But just being from an urban area versus coming from a small town, it's a completely
Mm.
totally different vibe. So me coming to Joburg, it was like, whoa, what the hell? Because I think I knew when I was probably like 10, 12 years old what I wanted to do. But when you're growing up in a small town, in a semi-rural areas, it's a pipe dream. It's like, oh, you wanna do what? Television. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You grew up in a space where people on TV are people on TV.
Mm,
End of story.
yeah.
Whereas I would imagine if you are in Joburg in particular, or you grew up in Soweto, half of the people that are on TV, you probably in a year you can bump into them by sheer luck.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so that is a reality that
Yeah. So
I
was it
can be.
always an aspiration of yours to work in TV?
For me, it was a calling.
Was a calling. So when you
Yeah,
moved to Joburg, did you immediately go to? Because I know you studied film. You started as an
yeah,
editor. You
yeah.
started. You came and you studied in Joburg.
No, I
So was
didn't.
that the reason you moved there because of the opportunities that existed there versus
Well,
back home?
when I came to Joburg, I didn't even know if I was gonna find a film school here. This is like 96, 97, right? So I just knew read somewhere that for you to be a film, you gotta go to film school. But finishing high school, I had no idea if there was any film school that existed in South Africa. I remember being petrified watching this one old man on television who eventually later on in my career I got to meet and he became my mentor. He was from Exile and was a film producer and I was like, oh, I went to London Film School, for me to be where I am. And I remember thinking like, how the fuck did sorry, how the hell do
How the
how do I, yeah, do I even, let alone I haven't even gotten to know what Joburg is. What about London? so, so
that was
I get to
unnecessary pressure that that guy put on you. Who was this
yeah.
man? Who was this
Uh,
mentor that put such pressure?
his name is Glenn Masukwan.
Glenn.
Uncle
I know
Glenn.
Glenn. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know Glenn. Uncle Glenn, he's got a daughter called, it's not Azania. Who's the, oh, goodness.
Uncle
I know
Glenn.
exactly who you're talking about, though, because the South African community in London was very close knit. So you
He
kind
was
of knew
there.
everybody.
Yeah.
And
He
I
was like,
remember him as a very suave guy, always wore a little,
so
what do you
wow,
call it?
that's
No,
the
he
way to
was like he would get swag. He has swag. He'd always
maybe
wear like a
not.
purple cap and like Anyway,
Yeah, that
very.
is
So he
in his
came and put
whatever.
pressure on you unnecessarily.
Right now, it's probably in his mid 80s, if not, I don't
Now,
know.
yeah.
But he still has,
Jeez.
like you say, he still has got swag. It was like,
Yeah.
when I went to London Film School, and it even has the accent, right? So I was like, what the?
Man, yeah, yeah.
That was the first. That was the first black person I think that I got to find out about that. There's this thing called film school that you gotta study.
Mm.
So that was kind of like scary, but I don't know. The reason why I'm saying it's a calling because even that, I still just never gave up on the idea of being a filmmaker. Even though I had no
Okay.
idea I was gonna get to London or if there's a
Yeah.
film school that exists in South Africa. So why is this your sound and people like you that important? Because I got to Joburg and I'm moving to live with my cousin who's only about 3 years older than me. And even then I had no
Yeah.
idea where I was gonna study, whatever. But then you get to see the sea. So when they say hip hop saved my life, uh,
Yeah.
that's literally me because then it just became irrelevant when I saw that sound and that movement. It became irrelevant as to where I was gonna study or which school,
Okay.
which
So you
film
just
school.
you just dove right in. And
Yeah,
tell
I
me
just
about
knew.
some of the tell me about some of the experiences that you had. So, I mean, did people accept you following them around, wanting to know more about what they were doing, wanting to shoot them? How did you start? Like, how did you approach people even?
I don't know. I think so. Let's put it this way. Like, so, cut a long story short, I got to Joburg, and then I was like wandering around, not knowing what to do. Maybe like a year and a half later, I found out the film school called Newtown Film School. Then I went there to study. And sooner or later, I got an internship gig at what was called Times Media TV. So with that came the access of having a camera.
Uh-huh.
You know, a small little TV cam that uses tape, whatever. So I guess that kind of like opened up the doors because when you have a camera, people ask less questions. They
This
just
is
have,
true.
I don't
That's
know.
true.
I guess they assume that you're a journalist or you from TV or whatever it is. Like, so
Yeah.
that having a camera, because that was my um that was my way in, right? The camera was my way in into any space and any conversation, anybody. Like when you hold a camera, you don't have to go to anybody, like right?
Yeah,
People
yeah.
like, yo, what are you
You look
doing?
like you wherever you are. Yeah.
Yeah, like
You don't even need a tag.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can just recognize like yeah. You can say I lost my tag, but I got this.
I was
You
shooting.
know, now it's different because everybody's got a camera, so promoters have to check, right? But back
Uh-huh.
then, very few people had cameras, right?
Yeah. No,
So
absolutely. But so yeah, so you
so
were able to infiltrate
having a
by
camera
having
look for
by virtue of the fact that you had a camera.
yeah, it
And then you
opens up.
started shooting people, or because I know that you started as an editor and you worked your way up to directing, right?
No, but you
So
know,
I just want to from
yeah,
your
when I went to film school. I didn't know what editing was. I didn't even know that you had to edit. I just knew that
really
yeah, I just knew that you write. There's a script writer who writes the story, and there's a director who directs. And then to a certain degree, I knew that there's a cameraman who shoots. But I didn't know about editing. I didn't know about wardrobe, all of those. I didn't even know about editing. So I discovered editing when I got to film school.
okay.
But then, around about the same time, I think about 3, 4, maybe 6 months into film school, that's
Yeah.
when I got my internship job, right?
Okay.
So when you're working for a company as big as Times Media Television was back in the day, then you're
Mm.
exposed to all aspects of productions. You know, there's like bigger productions they're shooting. You know, I don't know if you remember the show called Sprite Rush Hour. There was a show called Sprite Rush
No.
Hour. They had a show called Elegance. Sprite Rush Hour was like I'm trying to figure out how I can get the tapes. Don't show them this what I'm saying because Sprite Rush Hour was like have you ever watched what's that TV show from the 90s and mid 2000s?
Which one?
TRL, Total Request Line.
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, the one
Kinda.
with Cousin Daily, shot by Times Square, whatever. Like Sprite Rush Hour was there. Sprite Rush Hour was what it was gave birth to your likes of Life Amp.
Oh, so it was like a request show.
Yeah, what was the
So
show that
people,
Melanie Sun and Bob Marvin used to host?
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so,
What is
so
happening over there? What is happening there where you are? You're fiddling with wires and I'm like, what's
no,
happening?
this room is cold, so I'm trying to fix my.
Oh, snap. You've also got a blanket. I'm also under a
Yeah, I'm
blankie.
trying to.
It's cold.
So my blankets keep falling. I keep trying to pull it up.
But so,
So
okay, so you were working on
yeah,
shows.
I
Any
was
music?
So I was assistant editor. So back in
Aha.
the day of tapes, your job as an assistant editor was literally
Sure.
to digitize tapes. That
Snap.
was it. Like they go shoot the tapes come, you put it in the machine, and you digitize them. That was it. But that was a music show. So
Okay.
think
All
of
right. That
anybody.
makes sense.
Think of anybody was anybody from the late 90s to 2000, early 2000. You know, prophet of the CTTK, you
Yeah.
name anybody who calls themselves the biggest artist in the land would want to be in that show.
On
So
that show. Got you. Got
and
you.
and by then I'm like 18, 19, right? So
Okay.
I guess that's where in hindsight, that's why I cut the music back. So that's pretty much
Mm.
what I wanted. I mean, it's all in hindsight. It's not like I sat there and I decided like, oh, I want to follow music and
Sure.
follow
It's not
musicians.
something you had set out to do, but you found yourself in this
No.
situation. You were like, oh, okay, I can do
Only
this.
yeah, only years later when I look at the body of my work, I'm like, why did I spend all this time following musicians, right? What's what's my fascination with music? But it was never a conscious decision to say like, oh, I
Okay.
think I want to do something about music,
As a
musicians.
storyteller, okay, so you never set out to follow musicians or be documenting musicians. But what would you say the role of music is in your visual storytelling? Because obviously, so in the same way that you said you never knew what editing was, you never knew that there were all these other facets to the film industry outside of a
Uh,
script and an actor and a cameraman, right? So in the
I, I,
same way, I never started working in television. I didn't understand the role that music plays in storytelling. Even though I used to love musicals, I will be able to identify pieces of music that bring out a certain emotion, whether it's you want to cry or it makes you laugh and all of that. But it was only, and you're not going to believe this, in 2018, when I was working on a reality TV show, and the director, Portia, she was like to the sound guy, she was like, okay, I need you to choose a piece of music that is going to make you feel a certain way. And I was like, oh, snap. Oh, no, sorry, it was to the editor. She was like, okay, how is this scene supposed to make you feel? Well, that's the track you need to find, a track that makes you feel like this. So, my question to you, Diliza, is how has the role of music affected or influenced your visual storytelling outside of the fact that you've been following musicians, obviously?
can you see my sad face?
You're what?
My sad face.
Why?
Because that question makes me sad.
Why?
Because I probably one answer. I'm probably gonna get myself cancer, but anyway, it's fine. Because I don't think, no, honestly, because I don't think as filmmakers, as a film industry, as a television industry, we have as South Africans, as a South African film industry, television, whatever included, we've yet to embrace and realize truly the importance of music in our storytelling. Um, and there's a couple of reasons I'm gonna say that. I'm saying this. One is like if you were to look at the idea of the entertainment industry, the South African entertainment industry, be it television, be it movies, be it theater, be it fine arts, be it music, be it whatever it is that falls under the category of
Creative
entertainment,
industry,
creative industry.
entertainment.
Like nobody has
Yeah.
ever done better than South African musicians ever. We can go way, 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 way back. All of us are playing a catch up.
Mm.
All over the TV. If you were to say who did it best, who did it better, there's not a year where South African former television has ever done better than the music industry. So for me, in that sense, I'm like,
But is that not because, sorry, but is that not because South Africa only got TV in 1976?
no,
Okay,
no,
so we were making
because
music prior to
because
19,
because
obviously.
no, because long before that, there's a form, another form we're talking about. What form are we talking about? We say we haven't seen. Jim Comes to Joburg, right?
Jim Comes to Joburg, yeah.
Then there was another one. I just don't know the years. Then there was another one called King Kong,
Mm.
right? From what I read, I still haven't watched King Kong, and I've seen clips of it, but both
Yeah.
movies. From what I read about King Kong, it's a fucking musical.
Yes,
That
King
movie,
Kong. Da, da, da,
that
da, da. King
that
Kong.
that
Da, da,
that,
da.
that from what my understanding, the little that I know of that film, that like it would have never happened without those musical icons. So it was a film inspired, stand to be corrected. It was a film inspired by that era's music and those musical icon from that era. If they didn't exist, I don't think King Kong would have ever existed.
Yeah, because it was, like you say, it was a musical, it was a stage musical. And then obviously the natural progression would be to take that stage theater production to the screen. So that's for
Yeah,
me is a natural
but
evolution. And I mean it's a given that any art form has built upon those who came before.
yeah, you
So
saying it's natural. You saying it's natural evolution, but I don't know. I get a vibe you downplay it. But for me, I'm saying you 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 saying it's a natural evolution. Yeah, yes, it is. But I'm saying it's not even about evolution. It's about the origins of that evolution would have never happened without the idea of a South African music at that time.
yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I get you. I get you.
So so let's come back to now.
Mm.
Now I feel like as a film industry, we look at music like a supplementary art form that could add to what we do. And I'm saying film cannot exist without music or musicians, literally. And I'll tell
Amen.
you why. And I'll tell you why. Because I remember having a chat with Amu.
Yeah,
Amu did music for one of Akin Omotozo's movies, right?
yeah.
I don't even know what the topic was, but it could have been something along these lines, right? And it's like, ah, man, I'm like, it's like I could have done more, but it's like, yo, I want to do this, fam, da 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 da. But Akin kept telling me like, yo, there's no budget to do that,
Yeah.
and and I knew exactly what he was talking about because I've seen those budgets, right? The budget for when it comes to music,
It's a
90% of
joke.
the time, it's an afterthought.
It's a
Let's
joke.
budget
It's an absolute joke.
let's budget for everything. And then once you budget for everything, how much money you got left for music?
Mm. Yeah, it's
That's where we
terrible.
are at, right? And that's why I'm saying that question, your question makes me sad because for me, it's this: you are here as a South African. You might have grown up in exile, but we are so in love and infatuated by what Hollywood does and what America does, and there's fucking shitloads that we can learn from, and not learn but take from how Hollywood do things, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that they do so well is that, yeah, you can say, oh, they have money, they got budget, but they don't compromise when it comes to music.
Like
I have,
Bollywood, they're the same. It's
yeah,
about
Hollywood.
their culture, it's
Yeah,
about their music.
yeah. They don't compromise when they make films. When it comes to music, they don't compromise, right?
Even the Brits are the same. I mean, the BBC, for example, when they are making a TV show, the budget for music composition or licensing is proper. It's what it should be, which is why the quality of the content that they're able to release is just that much better. Do you know what I mean? Or at least for me, that's the case. But you're
So
absolutely right. I am in agreement with you. The role of
so that
music is underplayed in the South African
exactly.
film.
So you tell me, that's a touchy subject. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm probably gonna get canceled for this, for saying this, but that's a touchy subject for me because, like, okay, in Hollywood, you could argue that the film and TV industry and the music industry, they're on the same level.
Yeah,
So basically, your biggest music icon, Beyonce, Kanye, Jay Z, whoever,
yeah,
T.I., whatever, you could find an equivalent of the same star in the movie industry. Brad Pitt, whoever, right?
yeah,
Who, who
yeah,
can who can who can, if it's about money, who can make the powers that be the same equal amount of money from
yeah,
the two different, right?
yeah,
Whereas here, we don't even have, as far as like actors are concerned, if we look at it from a Hollywood perspective, like, and I'm gonna keep saying this, not because I believe in it, but because that's how South Africa chose to look at itself. And I know because I've been in so many of these workshops, how to make a viable, how to grow South African film industry. Every time we start opening our mouth, it's Hollywood, like it's the West. Like how are they doing it in London? How they do it in Hollywood? You get my point? Nobody have ever said like, how's Nigeria doing it? How is
I was coming there. I said India. I was coming to Nigeria. I know.
yeah.
Okay,
No,
but
no,
yeah,
we don't think like that. We don't think like that here. No, no. So I'm saying my argument has always been, which it made me walk out of those workshop groups. I don't. I'd like to go back, but because for me it's like I don't know what the point would be. Because like if you have right now we have, who's the biggest star? Let's say Tyler, right?
yeah,
If I was one of those people who gets funding and budget in South Africa, I don't know why there's no script. I've never heard Tyler say like, "Oh, somebody approached me with a script for a movie." Tyler sold 8,000 tickets, whatever, last time to go Sunbed Arena. Doesn't matter whether you like her music or not. The bottom line is she sold tickets, 8,000, whatever, however many tickets that Sunbed Arena
okay.
takes. She sold it out. So my thing is that, like, if I'm in a position to make my next South African big South African movie, and I want to talk about, ooh, I want to make it a financially viable movie. Why are we not looking at blueprint that South African music industry has set? Not only the blueprint, but the popularity that is South African music and musicians. Why are we not trying as a film industry? Why are we not trying to factor that into trying to sell tickets for our movies? I still
That is
don't
a
get it.
very pertinent point that you make there.
You
Whoa.
know, in the music industry, 76 was a good year. And that album that you guys recorded with Jimmy and the Volume, It might be in terms of numbers in the music industry. It might not be. It could be referred as an average sale album, right?
Yeah.
But if you were to take those numbers and you were to transfer them into the film industry, those are box office numbers.
That's interesting. That's not something I'd ever thought about. But
Yeah.
like,
So
Lisa, you can be very deep and you can, I know you could talk for days. So I'm going to
yeah.
interrupt you here and I'm going to say we need to play a quick game because you know me, I like games.
Let me make
Um,
let me make my one final point. Just in
oh,
terms of
okay. We've still got time, but
okay.
yeah, carry on.
So for me, the other reason why music is should be the central. We call it what is it called? What do you call it? We call it not original, not composed music. I forgot the right term, but let's say original music, right?
Yeah,
So in terms of in form, you have soundtrack, then you have composed music, then you have like
yeah.
theme songs and all of that, right? But in terms of original music, we don't take enough advantage of that, and that's something that I have observed. With you see,
You
here's the
mean as
thing
in
about
licensing original tracks?
yeah. So
Yeah.
so, but also it takes a certain skill and talent to know which piece of music to use at what moment in your form, right? So it's not like you can just take a piece of music because it's popular and just throw it in your movie, right?
Although
It's
that is done a
certain,
lot in commercials.
yeah. Thank you. Okay, yeah, there you go. So commercial does it. Movies, TV, we don't do that. But here's the thing: the reason why you should do that, if you know how to do that properly, and that's about timing. I spend a lot of time with musicians in the studio, in the recordings. You guys, I'll be sitting there, and you'll be changing one note for the next hour, and I wouldn't see what the fucking difference is. It's like, no, it's not right. Like, no, it's not right. Let's do it again. Like, and I'm thinking like, yeah, but it was fine. Like, but we the only ones who knows like until when it's right. So it works the same way. But here's the thing about music. Why I would, if I given the opportunity, I would take, I would, in a perfect world, I would, my budget for production would be the same as my budget for music for a form, right? Because
Yeah.
here's the thing, music is way deeper than form. If anything, used right, music can give will and have and always give a form much more bigger meaning because
I tried
music,
to motivate for an original track when we were doing that reality series I was talking
yeah,
about earlier, and I got shut down by the line producer. I got shut down by the commissioning editor. Why would you be spending so much unless you're gonna ask him a favor? Why must we spend so much on this person's track? And I
exactly.
was just like, oh, yo, yo. But
So,
the struggle is real, Diliza. Let's
so
start a
my,
movement. Let's start a
so,
movement.
my thing is this, the reason why original music is important, especially the music that is being played over and over and you transfer it into a form, is that like when people listen to music, good music, and and there's a number of those over the years, right?
Yeah,
It transcends into something beyond the composition of the song. It becomes a
yeah,
memory. It's
yeah.
like if I go to, we have what we call, the simplified example would be like in South Africa we call wedding songs, right?
Yeah,
Whether
yeah,
it's Brandon Fassie, whether it's Ringo, whether it's, I don't know, Kevin Campbell, whatever you play at a wedding.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
When you're there and that moment happens and that song is playing, it's embedded in your brain forever. And whatever that emotion that you get within that moment, whether made you happy, sad, whatever emotion that you got on that moment, it's stuck with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And you know what? The day me as Diliza, if I get hired as this big time director or whatever in a movie, and I take that one song and I use it in my
Yeah.
movie and I use it properly, when that audience watches that movie and that song at that particular moment, it amplifies that moment in my movie because it not only gives you what is it, amplifies that moment, that scene in my movie, but
Yes.
then it takes back that same individual, whoever it was, to the first time they had
I
their
heard that
first kiss,
song.
whether
Yeah.
song or they had the first kiss, whatever. And you know what? When they leave theater or after they watching that TV, your movie on TV screen, whatever, they're gonna go and tell somebody else
Absolutely. So I think you've
about
answered
you.
me on the importance of the role of music in visual storytelling. That was,
I hope you
and
did.
I can see you could probably talk for another 2 hours just on this topic.
Yeah,
But I'm going to ask you.
because even when you convince, I'm still gonna convince you some more.
we're we're gonna have to play a quick game because I like games. Okay, this one is called Cut or Keep. Right? So I'm gonna mention a thing, and you have to say either cut or keep. Cut it or keep it. Ne?
As in, like, okay, define if
So,
I'm
for
keeping
example,
it,
I will say dramatic slow-mo shots. Cut
okay.
it or keep it.
So if I say cut it, what do I mean?
Ah, you can't be thinking and breaking it. You need to give me one answer. Cut it, keep it. You see,
Dramatic
this
slow
is
mo
the
shot.
academic in coming out now. So I say
Ah,
dramatic
that,
slow-mo shots.
that's an un,
Carry
that's
them
an
or are we
unfair
keeping them?
question. That's an unfair question.
You have to give one answer. Why is it unfair? Oh.
Okay. To be fair on me, can I answer it and then ask and I tell you why?
Okay.
It's an unfair question.
Okay.
So ask that question. Dramatic
Slow
slow
mo
motion.
shots or, you're sorry, dramatic slow mo shots. Cut it,
Mhm.
keep it.
So what I was asking was that, like, when you say keep it in terms of form in film terms, keep it in the edit or cut it out of the. What do you mean by cut?
Well, just as a concept, as a concept. So, as a creative element,
Yeah,
is it something we should keep or cut?
as in
Not just
cut
in
as
the
in
edit, as a
you
thing.
say. Oh, let me ask you this: when you say cut, lose it.
Lose it. Like we must do
Okay,
away with it altogether.
yo, that's an unfair question, but I'm gonna say keep it.
Okay,
But I,
thank
but I got,
you.
but I gotta tell you why.
You, it's just a game, Diliza. It's just a
Okay,
game.
fine, keep
The
it,
next
keep
one,
it.
keep it. Okay, cool. Voiceover intros.
The fuck?
Voiceover intros. Cut or keep. It's just a game, Diliza. It's a game.
No,
Cut or keep.
keep,
Cut or keep. Keep it.
keep.
Okay. Matching jump cuts to drum fills.
Cut,
Cut. Blurry B-roll to hide your sound issues.
cut.
Okay, interesting. You see, that's the game. So it wasn't that hard, and you were totally overthinking it, and I could see that that
No, it
is
was not. I had to make
that
it
is
simple
the,
for you.
the academic in you. Like you like to go deep into these things. But
Okay.
that was the game. Cut it or keep
Okay.
it. Now, our next thing that I want us to talk about is firstly your evolution from editor to director.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want you to tell us about how it was or is working with musicians as a visual storyteller, because musicians have a reputation for being divas,
Yeah,
for
they're
being
piece of
very difficult,
they're piece of
for being
shit.
highly sensitive. So how have you? I mean, that's the reputation that we have. I don't think that that's the case at all. But
But
just from your experience, how did you evolve from editor to director, and how has it been working with musicians?
so I when I went to film school, I went to film school to be Spike Lee. Okay,
Is
so
that why you've got the look? I can see like the glasses.
yeah, I'm like 9 out of 10 young black filmmakers from pre 2000. I think we all wanted to be Spike Lee's because he was the most
Of
famous
course.
black film director, right? So I didn't know what editing was. So I went to film school to be a director. But then I get to film school and then I find out there's something called editing. And the whole reason why I ended up being an editor is because in film school, we used to get little assignments. So we got grouped into crews. And then, you know, somebody's a director, somebody's a producer, somebody's an editor, somebody's a sound person, whatever. And you get marks or points based on your delivery of whatever discipline that you're assigned to. So then,
Okay.
but then we're a bunch of kids from poor working class families, and at the same time we had to finance our own production. So that means that you being a director producer, you carry the most. So then, you know I, I started off with trying to take that role of a director editor. Then you don't get the same support, and then half the time your assignments fails, and then when you go back to report to the school or the lecturers, it's a case of like, nah, the director didn't do that, the producer didn't do that, and you look at it,
So you were like, I'm just gonna learn how to do all of it
and
so that I
and
don't do.
no, and then you look at the sound guy and the editor and the art director. It never gets to them because you know what? You never shot a movie, so the project was never shot, so they don't have to answer. So
Uh,
after a couple of whatever assignments, I decided, you know what, this is BS. Like I'm never gonna volunteer myself to be a director as well or producer. I'm just gonna be an editor, so I can sit back while I
so,
hear the producer making excuses why we couldn't shoot and whatnot, right? So
so
that's
then I
how I
have
got
a
in.
question to that. What do you think of the term "fix it in post"?
That's the shittiest thing ever. Okay,
But now
and
you never
unfortunately,
said it as a director.
no, because I've been an editor before, right? I was an editor
Aha.
before I became officially. So I know the hardships. I know how easy you can make the production if you just fix it in production.
Absolutely.
And you know that because you done production. So an editor or post production is not supposed to fix anything. It's supposed to
But that
complement.
term, it gets thrown around so
Yeah,
easily by
yeah, but
production.
it still happens to this day. So it is what it is.
Absolutely.
So then
And then
I was always going to be for me. I always wanted to be a director, but then I started editing, and every time I edited for the longest of time, it just became a good feeling to me, when because of that, people wanted to fix it in post. I guess I fixed a lot of things in post because then I'd get a project and I'd work on it as an editor and start cutting. And then the editor, the producer, no, the producer, the director, whatever, would come and view. And they'll just be amazed, like, wow, okay. And I'll be like, okay, like, what does this mean? Does this mean like you didn't expect this thing to be the way it is, whatever? So that feeling kept me going. I just liked the reaction that I constantly got every time I cut something. And
mm,
producers or the editor came for viewing, and everybody's just amazed, like, ooh, like, yo, wow, we're so happy. So then I got stuck into editing for a while. But then, that feeling starts to fade away because then you don't want to fix anymore. Instead, you start being cocky. You start being cocky. Then you start asking questions like, couldn't you have done that? Why didn't you direct it like that? Why didn't you shoot that? But so obvious, like I could have done that.
No, that's funny. No, for the second part, I mean, I completely relate to what you're saying because I have worked in production, I've worked in post-production, hate the term fix it in post, but I want to know now what working with musicians as a visual storyteller has been like.
They're a piece of shit.
Thank you. The end. I'm going to close. No. Why do you say they're difficult? They're difficult.
In all fairness, we don't know what it's like to be. So when you say musicians, like, so some of them are not famous, but if I could just direct my answer just towards like the famous ones, like I don't know what it's like to be famous. So perhaps, and I can say this because a lot of famous musicians that I know currently, I met them way, way, way before they were famous.
Sure.
Yeah. So basically, they change. That saying that people say like money changes people, and then people say like money will never change me. And then some people will be like, yeah, well, you can say that because you don't know what it's like to have money. So I look at musicians the same way. Like I don't know what it's like to be famous, so I can't really judge that much. When I knew somebody before the fame and then they become famous, and then
that wasn't the question. That wasn't the question. I just asked, what's it like working with musicians as a storyteller? With the context that
no, mine has to be that way because I don't work with famous musicians. I've never worked with famous musicians. All the musicians
I didn't say anything about famous musicians. I just said working with musicians.
No, I don't think you can ask that question.
I said, what is it like working with musicians as a visual storyteller?
I reject your question because your question should be like, what is it like working with famous musicians? What is it like working with musicians? Because there's a difference. Because
okay. Then I said musicians. I didn't say famous. And I even gave context by saying because musicians have a reputation to be diva-ish, to be highly sensitive, to be.
But that's unfair because you can't paint all of them with the same brush. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
the famous one. The famous one.
With the same brush. Can we leave it there?
The famous ones. The famous ones. The famous ones. The famous ones. We'll have to do another hour.
Okay, we're gonna leave it there.
But other than that, other than that, I'm talking to a musician, and they're the most nicest, kindest, amazing human beings, talented. Some of us are just amazed that God made them that way. Like we're just envious of them, and that's why we run around after them with cameras. Because we don't know like how God can be so unfair. Right?
But I don't think. Yes, no. I would say that it's great to be able to sing and to be a performer and all of that, but there are so many ways to tell a story. There are so many gifts that we are given. For example, I am not a director. I am not an editor. I can do those things, but I wouldn't say it's a gift that I have. I have to work very hard to put a story together. I know what I want it to look like, so I can explain it to somebody else, but actually doing it, that's another gift that, you know what I mean? So I don't think one should be envious
I
of
like,
another person's gift.
I like,
We should
sorry.
celebrate.
So am I supposed to be reading? I see I like Amy's comments here. Am I supposed to be reading that or not? I like Amy's comments.
Amy.
Hey Amy. I don't have an Oscar, Amy. Hey, I like Amy's comment. Say hi to Amy, yeah? You say
oh snap. I will. But like, so I just wanted to check.
hi
Have you got
Amy.
any stories from the field? Do you have any stories from the field, like memorable moments that when you were following a band, whether it was here or on tour or wherever it was, and what lessons you garnered from those moments?
Lessons.
Yeah. Okay. Memorable moments. Leave the creative lessons. Memorable moments.
I don't remember. I'm not gonna lie. Like, Pebbles, you've been on the road, right?
Yeah.
As an artist, like, so from a filmmaking point of view, there's no. It's technical, man, because all you ever worry about, say for instance, I've traveled the continent with most of these musicians, right? But it's like all you ever so I don't have any memorable stories because you worry about, can I get my camera? Am I gonna stop by at the airport? Would my camera go through or not?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think. Oh, I got one. So I go to I spent years and years and years 340 meal, right?
Okay.
So this 1 year I got on a flight with Rui to 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 Mozambique. We got to Maputo, and I passed out at some point in the flight, and I woke up. I've been to Mozambique before, but driving. I never. That was the first time I was flying to Mozambique. So I'm looking on the other side. I remember on the other side. We look at this side, it's like it just feels you don't see anything. It's not like Joburg International or Tambo International, right? And on the other side, yeah, you can see like there's. So I was sitting on the other side where it's like fields and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So the flight stops, but it's like in the middle of nowhere, and me and Rui are not sitting in the same seats, right? Sitting far apart from each other. And I'm like, what the fuck? Am I lost or whatever? Woke up in I'm on a dreamlike state, right? But I play calm, right? Cool. So we go down the steps on the what you call it? I don't want to say driveway.
Escalator.
Yeah. Before you even get to, so we get down the stairs of the flight, right? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, on the what do you call it? Like the landing strip. The landing strip.
Oh
Before we
yeah.
get to that, we get there. Rui probably gonna. I don't know, it's not gonna like this. That's my most memorable story. I get down to the bottom of the stairs, and Rui looks at me and says, "Dili," and there's a guy standing there like this, and everybody going past with their baggage or whatever. Rui turns around and says, "Dili, give me your passport." And now I'm still like dazed. I just woke up. What the fuck? But I trust Rui, so I give the guy my passport. But it's unusual. I need to go to, customs, get my passport stamped and whatnot, right?
Oh.
Yeah, but I now gotta give the guy my passport outside the flight, like before I even go to customs or anywhere, right? So now I follow Rui. I don't have my passport anymore, but I'm still in a panic. I'm just quiet, right? So Ruby's like, eyes like switches off. The English is gone. He's speaking Portuguese. I forgot what he's saying. I don't know what he's saying. So I follow him. We get there. We get inside the airport. I just follow Rui, man. Rui's like,
Yeah.
what. Get there, we met Rui's dad. And then we start following Rui's dad. They're all in Portuguese, kid. Like,
Yeah.
all that time. I'm thinking about 40, 50 minutes. We're going up and down the airport. I'm just thinking about my passport. Somehow, for whatever reason, I'm in a panic mode. I don't trust Rui for whatever reason. The father is showing, because I remember at that time there was still like some renovation going through the airport that they would do at the airport, whatever. 2 hours later, we get into some sort of a H1, whatever, minibus.
Yeah.
And looking at Rui, I still don't have my passport. I don't know where my passport is. True story. I'm in a panic, but I'm like, I'm an introvert, so I'm not the one to throw tantrums or whatever. I keep just
Sure.
I'm looking at Rui is in the car, but Rui is relaxed. So I'm gonna take Rui's cue. Like, it's not in a panic. Like, we go to this one house. We're sitting. Now it's like we probably landed around 3 o'clock, whatever, in the afternoon. Now it's like 8 o'clock at 9 o'clock. I'm sitting there. I'm still wondering where my passport is. The last time I left my passport, was
When you got to the bottom of the stairs of the plane.
At 3 p.m. somewhere there. I don't know where I'm sitting there at this house in Maputo. I don't know where my passport is. So I'm sitting there, and then whatever, 9 o'clock at night, whatever time it was, some guy walks in with the passport. And I get my passport, and I look at my passport, it's stamped and everything.
Yeah.
I still don't know what the fuck is going on. At least I got my passport. I didn't go to customs, nothing, like, I don't know. But I'm sitting at the dinner table, now we're eating, and behind me, there's a picture of Nelson Mandela and Graça Machel.
Okay.
Behind me on the wall. You see, like right there where I'm pointing?
Yeah.
So I look at the picture. I'm lost in translation, right? So everybody's speaking Portuguese. I'm not speaking anything. And then I turn around again, look at that picture. And it just dawned on me that the picture was taken at the very same background where I'm sitting.
Snap.
Of Graça and
Madiba.
And Madiba, right? So I've never related the story to Rui. But then it just dawned on me. Like, Graça and Madiba were sitting right at the same table where I was sitting at some point in their lifetime. Snap. So that whole idea of me not having to go through customs and passport and whatnot, now it started kind of like making sense to me. Why?
These people are connected.
Exactly. but
all right, that's a very memorable moment, I must say. So now, what I was going to ask
the Rui,
is
the Rui and the 340 mil that I knew in South Africa were completely different animals when you get to Mozambique and Maputo.
They were bows.
But I never knew that until I got Maputo with Rui.
Okay, that's a very interesting, memorable moment. Very, very interesting. But now tell me, I'm not sure if anybody's watching. If anybody's watching, please pop a comment. Or, if you've got any questions for Diliza or for me, please do pop something in the comments so we know that you're there and you're live. Obviously, if you're watching this afterwards, you can still comment.
Please, Amy, to ask something, please.
Amy. Why are you exposing my team? Please. I'm going to ask you a question. Amy's also a director and editor and does all of this and like production. Amy wants to know what is in your coffee cup.
I wish I could show. I do this kind of space. It's water.
What is it? Just tell us. Tell us.
It's water.
Oh, okay. But now tell me,
I'm in my 40s.
Hey?
I'm in my 40s. I quit drinking.
What is being in your 40s going to do with quitting drinking? The two do not.
When you drink a lot at this age, it takes about 3 to 4 days to recover from a hangover.
Yeah, but you could have just been having a nightcap, like a glass of whiskey or something. I don't know, anything. Anyway, that's
you said that to me last.
For another day.
You said that to me last night, and I told you I can't do that anymore.
Last night, I know, and I remember you saying that you don't drink as much. I still do, but anyway, do you believe in documenting to preserve or documenting to inspire?
Oh, I think the whole idea of documenting is supposed to be to inspire. Otherwise, what's the point of documenting anything?
Yeah. Great. That was the shortest answer you've given me the whole stream.
I'm sorry.
I was not ready. I was never ready. But tell me, Diliza, we're gonna play another game. Are you up for it? It's a little bit different. Okay. This one is called Seen It, as in SCENE, soundtracked it. Okay, so how it works is I'm going to describe a random, vivid scene, right? And you are going to pick a song that is the perfect soundtrack for that moment. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay, so I describe a random scene. You pick a song that would perfectly soundtrack that moment. Yeah.
Guys, I'm horrible. My memory is bad.
So, hey?
I said my memory is bad, but let's see.
Oh, what? Because you're in your 40s, right?
No, it's always been bad. It's always been bad.
Maybe you know that people who. Okay, no, it's fine. I was going to totally go off on a tangent, but I won't. So the scene is a power outage in Newtown while someone is busking on the street.
I need $1. I need $1. What's his name?
I need dollars is what I need. Who sings that song? I don't even know, but okay, that's a good one. The next scene. First love on a summer. Oh, hold on. First love on a summer taxi ride with your Discman on shuffle. What song are you listening to? A Discman. Remember when we used to have the portable disc players, CD players?
Yeah.
So your Discman is on shuffle, and you are in love for the first time in a taxi, and it's the middle of summer.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Jesus can't save you now.
Is it my Deborah Cox? Is it my first love?
It's yes, first love.
Yeah. Go on.
Is that the name of the song?
First love, Deborah Cox.
How does it go?
It's my first night or my first love.
How does it go? Hamid, sing it.
I'm trying to hum it. When I'm on people's like, nah, you're gonna make me look stupid. Shit. I'm trying. I swear, what? Yeah.
It's just a game.
No, I know. I'm trying. No, seriously, I am the first song. If it was in my, I can hear it, but it's not coming out.
I get it. It's fine. It'll come to you.
My first night,
But Deborah Cox, First Love. Okay, cool.
first night, the first love. Like,
The next scene is backstage chaos before a Sunday jazz set.
say what?
Backstage chaos before a Sunday jazz set.
Backstage chaos before a Sunday jazz.
Before a Sunday jazz set. So there's a group of musicians, they're about to play a jazz set on a Sunday, and it's just chaos backstage because, I don't know, the trumpet guy is just puked, or I don't know, whatever's happening backstage. The vocalist is drunk. I don't know. The drummer is sulking for whatever reason. I don't know. Just imagine the chaos that would happen backstage.
You're making me do something
before a Sunday jazz song. In 5, 4, 3, 2. The pleasure.
It's too much.
Diliza, do you play 30 seconds?
Right?
Do you ever play 30 seconds? You do?
I have. I don't know when was the last time I played 30 seconds.
I wouldn't want it to be on the same team. I'm being very, very mean, but it's just that, and I know how it is with you academics. You go deep and you like, you want to analyze things and very serious. But I guess that's what makes people like yourself good at what you do.
I don't know how to think on the spot.
I want to know. Hey?
I don't know how to think on the spot like that.
Oh, sometimes you got to think on our feet, But anyway, what is next for Diliza? What new projects do you have? Any films? Are you doing any mentorship things? Because I know that you are part of the South African Guild of Editors, and you're also on the SAFTAs jury, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm the co-chairperson of the SAFTAs.
Co-chairperson. Well, that sounds like a big deal. But for those of us watching that don't know what that is, because people don't necessarily know things about the film industry. They don't know what the South African Guild of Editors is. They don't necessarily know what they are, or they should.
You're asking about the SAFTA or the
No, I was also talking about SAGE.
Oh, what it is? So basically, South African Guild of Editors, it's supposed to be like it's kind of like an American approach. In terms of the industry, so
it's like a union.
Yeah, it's like, but it's not, but it's supposed to be, because I think the only benefit of so South African Guild of Editors, it's supposed to, just like the South African Society of Cinematographers and Directors Guilds, and so on and so on. They are under, it's called SASFA, which is a union, Federation for Arts Workers. All of them are under that, and they're supposed to function like a union, but I don't think they are functioning like a union in a South African sense, how we know union to function. But the benefit of being in any of those unions is that as a creative, at least you get to be acknowledged just in terms of a certain level of your skill and experience. So having the
accreditation almost, or the
SAGE agreement gives you a certain credibility as an editor. That's one. But also, like, because of how the first world functions, if you ever want to go to work and practice in the first world countries, whether it's Europe, particularly Europe, or in Hollywood or Americas, that comes in handy, because the first thing they're gonna ask you is that, are you credited as an editor in your own country? So
it's a form of accreditation that gives you credibility within the industry.
It should do more. It should be more than that, but that's pretty much.
That's its role currently. Okay, that's very interesting. But now, just getting back to what is next for you, do you have any new projects that are in the pipeline that you can talk about? Any films?
So I've gone back to my roots, basically, in a sense that you know, you're talking about 25 years. Is it 20 or 25 years?
20.
20 years
20.
of so part of the reason why I agreed to do this because I found myself I've gone back to that because there's a lot of material that I shot
Yeah.
from back then, that age, and I can imagine how ambitious you were when you made that album, right? And I did the same thing when I was shooting, but then the industry had other ideas as to how one's career is gonna go, and you went along with all of that. So at a point where, in terms of what the next project I'm doing, I'm pretty much going back 20 years back. And I'm currently working on a feature documentary from project called Underground Soul Movement, which is pretty
Okay.
much the era of what I call soul movement in South Africa. People would say Afro soul. I hate that term because for me, soul is soul. Um, so we're talking about the likes of the Brother Moves on, Kwani
Mm,
Experience,
mm,
Pebbles, Jimmy and the Volume, Tandiswa, uh, Fila Sisters, to me, what is it? MXO, Roots
mm, mm.
2000. So
Nice.
I don't know what the story is at the moment because at
Okay.
that point I just shot. So I got hours and hours and hours and hours of that.
So you're going to be opening the vault.
Yeah, so I'm trying to make a story and sense of what that means. But I've been encouraged because lately I started posting clips
I've
on my
seen,
Instagram.
and you've gotten a lot of great feedback. I mean, because
Yeah,
you also know how to edit. You've edited those clips together in such a way that they're so exciting. It's like you want to see more. You want to see more. You want to know what was going on behind the
yeah.
scenes. Great.
So at a time because I started like actually I got that idea from a good friend of mine, Breeze Yoko. So it's like
Yeah.
earlier on you're asking me about like working with musicians. One thing that I try to do was to try to go to some of those musicians now they're famous to say like, hey man, like we shot this many years ago. Try to do something about it, and nothing ever came out of it. And I can't really blame them. They are living in a moment, so I can't hold that against them. Like so, it's only fair for them to decide what's working for them now. And if what I want to do is not working for them, yeah, so be it. Like yeah,
But the
at
documentary
times
sounds really exciting.
at times I would feel disheartened, like oh, but I was there when you didn't have anything, so I can't. But then you understand, like, yeah, well, this is a different time. People have
It's a
different
different time.
offers,
Yeah.
and and
The
and you
documentary sounds
and
really exciting.
and
And we are, I'm saying the documentary sounds really exciting. I can't wait to see what it ends up being and the story that you're going to tell through it. I do want to play one last game. We're going to be closing off soon because I've got to go make supper. And but one more question, two more questions actually before we
yeah.
play the game. What is your view on today's music and film landscape?
What is my view on?
On today's music and film landscape?
I think like what the world or South Africa.
Like, just, okay, my city, the South African music and film industry. When you look at it, does it excite you? Does it make you be like, oh, there's so much that needs to change? How does it make you feel?
Well, the music industry, I don't think Me personally, I can't mix the two, even though that has always been my goal to try and fuse the
That's the
two.
irony. The
I
irony.
know, I
But
know,
I guess that comes back to the things you were
because
mentioning earlier.
the truth is, for me, and most people won't believe me when I say this, including Amy. There, it's like I never gave a fuck about. I just saw the how great we can be as a nation. Somebody once I saw a post the other day, on one of the social media platforms. Where somebody is like, "There's only 4 countries in the world that are tastemakers of what's popular culture, right? So you have the U.S., you have, and then they said you have the UK, which is questionable because for me, UK is pretty much like a subsidiary of the US when it comes to popular culture. Then you have
Culture,
South Africa.
okay.
Then you have Nigeria, right? And I'm saying this, the UK. I can say that because the biggest artists to come out of UK, they're like what, the rock stars, blues stars, R&B stars. That's American genres, okay? But South Africa, now you have my piano, but you've had house music before. You have my hotel queens before. You have Black Mambazo before. Nigeria. The list goes on and on and on. So in the
Yeah.
top 4 as a country, there's no genre that came out of Australia or Austria or Russia or China or Brazil that took over the world. Hip hop came out of America, took over the world. So then you have my piano, then you have Afrobeat. You get my point. Then you have
Yeah.
jazz. Like after the US, the biggest jazz artist in the world, the biggest jazz scene in the world is South Africa. Same goes with house music. It used to be Europe. There's a reason why so many house DJs over the years
So does
migrated to
the
South Africa.
current landscape excite you?
Of music, yes, it
And
does.
then
But
Phil?
no,
Not.
no,
No.
myself included.
Interesting. That's
So
interesting.
I'm myself. I'm in the mix. So not that I start being look at like, or you criticizing the industry, but you haven't contributed anything. Myself included,
No,
because
I get it. I
I
get it.
always say
I
this
get it.
to your question. I always say this, like every year over the past 10, 15 years, South Africa, every year, there's gonna be some when it comes to if Broadway and West End are the mecca of theater in the world, there's always a
Yeah.
South African play every year without a failure. And I worked in the theater industry, and I got to learn how it works. So you have creative directors who goes around the world picking up shows and curating shows. So which means that creative directors from West End and Broadway would come to South Africa and say like, "Oh, this place is worthy to be at. West End is worthy to be
Yeah.
at Broadway." Right? Music industry is the same. Okay, either you have Black Coffee, Maporisa, or you have
Tyler.
Tyler, or you have Black Mambas, or you have Maotela Queens, or you have Sipo Mabuse, or you have Mira Makeba, or you have Brenda Fast. Every year there's somebody. But when it comes to the film industry, we're always lagging. And I still question myself and the industry, like, what's wrong with us? I've said this, just like I've never been to a South African to watch a South African play at Market Theatre, at State Theatre, Civic Theatre, now Mandela Theatre.
You've never been.
Now I say I've never been and came out feeling like, oh, what a waste of my money.
Oh, okay.
Like I would come out and want to go back the next night and book another
Sure.
ticket and watch again.
Yeah.
But when it comes to our TV shows, TV
Yeah.
drama,
Ooh.
movies,
Yeah.
let me tell you, I've lost the relationship because I dated people. I said, let's go watch, and I forced them to go watch a South African movie, a Stay Kennecan. And then it's like, yeah, these are, hey, these movies are low nothing. And then halfway through the show,
Translate. What is that?
and then halfway through the movie, and I'd be like, "No, sweetie, man, let's just watch this one, man. Let's just," and then we go and sit. And then halfway through the movie, 20 people in theater walk out of the theater. Literally, it happened to me. This is my lived experience. And the person that I came with was like, "All right, let's go." And I had to beg them to sit. Let's just go watch through the end. So, as a film industry, I don't care who says what. We haven't brought the number. We're still talking about John Schuster to this day. He's the only one.
So there's a lot of work still to be done in the film industry, if I'm hearing you correctly.
But guess what? Theaters have delivered.
I think the same.
Musicians have delivered.
Hey?
Theaters have delivered. Musicians have delivered.
That's an interesting take. That's a very, very interesting take. I'd like us to play one more game. Sorry, I'd like us to play one more game.
I went. Okay.
So it's not really a game. It's a bit of a challenge, the archive challenge. So the concept is that you must pretend that you're putting together a time capsule of the early 2000s Joburg creative culture. We each get to put 3 things into the time capsule. So I'm going to tell you what my 3 are first. Can I do that? And then you'll tell me your 3. So the first one would be a compilation CD of early 2000s Kwaito and hip hop classics. So it'd be like TKZ, Boom Shaka, Mafiki Zolo, Mandoza, Zola, Zabs, and probably I'd throw in like Pebbles Playful Soul, because but yeah, I think that was like the golden age of Kwaito blending, it was a very exciting time celebrating South African original, authentic sounds, and even the hip hop scene and all of that. And then my second thing that would go into my time capsule, because I have thought about this, would be a DVD copy of the movie Doccie. Because contrary to your point, that made waves internationally, internationally acclaimed. And it was telling a South African story. And then my third thing that I'd put into the time capsule is a copy of Drum magazine. It'll probably be the one where I was
I lost you.
Sorry, I was muted there for a minute. But the third thing is the Drum magazine that I was in back in that era, and they spelt my name wrong. They put Peebles. I was devastated, but a Drum magazine nonetheless would go into my time capsule. What 3 things would you have in your time capsule, Diliza?
So it needs to be what? What's the first one?
3 things that would go in your time capsule. Sorry, my machine fell. Oh, my soul. Sorry, Diliza. Sorry, my machine fell. What 3 things would go into your time capsule? Just gonna turn my screen like this.
I don't know. When was Hype magazine?
Hype magazine. I think that was probably around the same era. Yeah, it was probably around the same era.
You see something about Drum magazine, so I thought Hype because Mizi was the
might have been a little later.
Maybe, but Mizi was the editor-in-chief. Yeah, maybe later. Okay. Music, it has to be Mother Load compilation. I've lost you. I can't
Okay. All right.
Mother Load, I don't know when Mother Load came out, 2000 or maybe earlier. The hip hop compilation done by Ghetto Raf.
Did you? Okay.
So
sorry, that's 1, 2.
so you said the album, the music,
Well, it doesn't have to be. It can be any 3 things. But
and
I had an album, I had a movie, and I had
then it has to
music.
be Bradley Williams.
Brad. Oh, snap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. Do you want to give some context why?
Because in 2000, Bradley and I don't know the makeup of the team, but I know he's one of the main players who brought what was called Black August to South Africa. Black August concert with Dead Press, uh, Black Thought from the Roots, Bootsy. Can't remember who else was there. It was at Park Station. So that's the other project that I'm working on. Yeah, because I got a hold of some footage from that concert.
Okay.
So Bradley for me is the quintessential for me, the quintessential because it's easy. We always quick to celebrate musicians.
Yeah, there are people behind the scenes.
The people behind the scenes. And for me, Bradley did so much for the culture. And to this day, Bradley is just like lay low. Like even when you try to say to you, "Oh, Brad, remember you did that?" He kind of like he shines away from that.
From the spotlight.
Exactly. So I'd say Bradley.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Bradley Williams. I'm gonna say we also don't forget the famous Lee Club, right? Lee Club, whatever. Lee Club. That every rapper. Lee Club.
Oh yes, okay. So Lee Club, Bradley Williams. Okay, yeah.
So that's Bradley there with his partners. Credit due to everybody. So for me, it's Bradley first.
Third thing.
Then Then it's Motherload, the album, the hip hop album.
Motherload, Bradley Williams.
Yeah, because coming from a small town, most people don't believe me when I say to them, my first experience of hip hop is South African hip hop. It's not American hip hop.
Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
All right,
I know.
right. So Bradley Williams,
Motherload.
Album.
Sorry,
Motherload Funk.
Yeah. No, Motherload. That was the album.
Oh, sorry. And then the third thing in your capsule was?
I said Hype Magazine.
Hype Magazine. Sorry, my brain. Yeah. All right. So that's an interesting time capsule that we've got there. And I like ending up on games. One last thing before I let you go. So this is called the pebble toss. So you know how you toss a pebble into a stream and it ripples and it changes the world?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a word of inspiration for the youth and for those wanting to get into film and music and the creative space. What would your words of advice be?
Jesus Christ. Can you send me these questions before so I can think about my answer?
Okay. So but I've got to say my goodbyes now because I've got to go make supper.
Word of inspiration.
Yeah, a pebble toss.
For what? You say word of inspiration for young people.
Diliza, no. Just give us some words of wisdom for the youth who are thinking of getting into film and TV.
Don't.
Enough said. And on that note, I would like to thank you so much, Diliza, for being a most incredible Playful Soul Mates. To those of you watching, if you like this series of Playful Soul Mates, please do subscribe, like the videos, share them with your friends. Go check out some of the other content because there's some really cool stuff on there. And
I mean,
also,
Amy says it's the saddest advice ever. Don't.
she said it's the sagest. She says it's the sagest. Sagest. SAGE.
Okay. Amy is my voice of reason. So, truly speaking, so
she didn't say saddest. Most sage. Sage.
So I'm saying, so to be honest, but thanks, Amy. But to be honest, like, so as Amy has pointed out, like I got long answers for everything, and every time I start talking, people be like, "Oh, what are you gonna?" So I'm probably gonna write the book one day. Let's see if I have to write that book. but if I ever write the book, it's gonna be called "What I Wish They Taught Me When I Was at Film School," because the reality is that whatever it is that they feed you at film school, it's never the reality when you come out of film school. So to young filmmakers out there, you just need to be cognizant of the fact that we had, I mean, I want to go back to, I'm going back to school to do my master's in film and television, partly because we've been fed too much of Hollywood literature. So our idea as young American filmmakers going to film school is that like we've been prepared to go to Hollywood. We're prepared to go to Hollywood. Nobody trains us to go to an African film industry or South African film industry. We all want to be Spike Lees. We all want to be. When you get to film school, any film school, Cape Town, Joburg, Peak, whatever, Durban, the curriculum, you know, it sort of trains you to prepare for one day when you get to Hollywood. But that's the sad reality. But even if you can get to Hollywood, I don't know what's wrong with being part of the African cinema landscape, as African cinema landscape. And that's something that I learned when I came out of film school, right? Because when I was in film school, my goal was to be, I was not kidding. Like, we all wanted to be Spike Lees. But nobody taught us to be yourself. Nobody told you to be an
So,
African.
if your can I summarize your parting words of wisdom? Be authentic. Tell your stories. Tell our authentic African stories. Would
No,
that be
you're
a
wrong.
fair? No. Do we need to wait for the book?
Because I don't know what authenticity means.
Oh, you're more like it. You see, you're typical academic.
I don't. When you're a South African, because we've been fed what we've been fed from a young age. We don't even know
I hear you. And maybe we need to save this the rest of this conversation for another day because I really do need to go make supper now. But once again, Diliza, thank you for being the most incredible Playful Soul Mates. I know we could have chatted for another 5 hours, but thank you for being here. And for those of you watching, thanks once again. If you're liking this series, please tune in 2 weeks' time when I'm going to be chatting to, obviously not going to tell you now because that's going to spoil the surprise, but Playful Soul Mates, one album, many soulmates.
My last
Countless stories.
I enjoyed. I wish maybe one day I get to meet Amy. I enjoyed.
You've already met her, but you don't remember. Anyway, we're gonna go. Well, I'm gonna go. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Like, rewatch, share. Thank you for watching.
I'd like to meet Amy. Sorry.
You've already met her.